today. Texas Republican Congressman and ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, McCaul, joins me now. He was part of a hearing with John Kerry the other day, who is the climate czar, where he questioned him about forced labor in China. One of the things that is brought up by this wind farm plan, Congressman, is the amount of materials that are required to build these enormous blades. These blades are the size of football fields in some cases. Craig Rucker says, how many millions of tons steel, copper, lithium, cobalt, rare earth elements, concrete, petroleum-based composites, and other raw materials could be required for this manufacture? He goes on to say much of it would be done in China or in other countries by Chinese-owned companies in terms of the manufacturing. What do you think of this project?
Well, look, we have wind farms in Texas as well, but I think the environmental damage that was talked about in the oceans to go forward with this project. In addition, the American worker is the loser in this energy policy of the Biden administration, which is quite perplexing to me. Like when he shut down the Keystone pipeline, and yet John Kerry testified that pipe is the best way to deliver energy, and yet they shut that down. And then the Russians attacked Colonial Pipeline. And at the same time, they are allowing the Russians to complete Nord Stream 2 from Russia into Europe. So I'm very confused by this policy. What I'm most concerned about, Martha, is that we finally became energy independent after so many years from OPEC in the Middle East. And President Trump helped us usher into that position. My state, #1 exporter of LNG, which is clean burning. And I asked the Secretary, why aren't we doing more things like that? What their policy is essentially doing is hurting the American worker, the welders for the Keystone Pipeline, but it's also taking us to a policy of being now not energy independent, but more dependent now on the Middle East. This is going backwards, not forwards, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it took so many years for us to claim that mantle of energy independence, and it changes the geopolitical dynamic with the Middle East. It makes us less dependent on countries that we really don't want to be dependent on. But one thing that shocks me is that we've removed, the head of the EPA says that we've removed the cost-benefit analysis that goes into wind farms and other forms of alternative energy. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't really make financial sense as long as it checks the box of moving in that direction. Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah. Look, the price point is still not there on solar or on these wind farms. It's very good for fossil fuels. This administration is very much against fossil fuels. They want to eliminate it, but we have to have a transition here, and it has to make sense from a profit standpoint. And as you pointed out as well, a lot of these solar panels are coming out of the Xinjiang province in China, which my bill will declare them guilty of genocide. So the irony is this administration is importing windmill technology and solar panel technology supply chain out of China in the very province where they were committing genocide with slave labor of the Uyghur Muslims. This is a very paradoxical policy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, solar panels to a lot of people sounds like a great idea. If they're manufactured by slave labor in China, you got to think twice about whether or not that makes sense for America. Thank you very much, Congressman. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Martha.
So it seems